Hey friends, several of you have said you do want a video for this, so I thought I would go ahead and do this. It's late at night. I had a client that at 8 o'clock I had forgotten about, and I ran out and did that right quick, and I've just come back. But the questions were that I get a lot. What about, how do you know about your calling? How do you figure that out? And then what about dreams? And how can the two come together? And so I was going to tell you about a dream I had last night and how it works. Now, in the Bible, dreams happen. Joseph was a dreamer. There were other dreams and visions. Right now, everybody is getting on the internet and said, I had a dream, I had a vision. You have to point back to the truth of God to be able to prove that that is something that God said. So it's very tricky when you are just saying something that's going to happen, because one, it may or may not happen, and some people may not check back. If you look at all these people that are telling you dreams, like this is going to happen or that's going to happen, if you'll go back and look at their videos from a year back, you'll see they were saying the same thing then, but they're not coming true. So we have to be very careful about our dreams. So for your calling, I just want you to know, if you're not rightly fitted, you will usually have a time where you want to run a lot. So before I actually became a counselor, I worked in corporate America, and I worked for my family's business, and about every 18 months I lasted longer at my family's business, of course, because that was just something that we did, and it was there, it was convenient, and we learned a lot. But, you know, when it came to like banking, there was always something I was discontent about. After about 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I made it one time 7 or whatever. It wasn't that I was a bad employee. I just was always thinking about something else that I needed to be doing. I was very discontented. So I would begin to grumble, and then before long I was moving on to the next thing, until I began to work for myself. And the joke here is that if I don't like her, then there's not a thing I can do about it. I'm stuck with her. So I tell Hannah that all the time. But if you're not rightly suited, in other words, if you have the heart of an entrepreneur, and you are always working for someone else, then you are going to have all these seasons of discontent. But if you're chasing God's heart, then God will use those times to teach you more about what it is your calling is. Because we don't generally just walk into our calling. We usually do things that teach us about what our calling will be, and it will be things that we need for our calling. For example, I may be a counselor where I deal with people's hearts. I was a pastor's wife for 25 years. I did that. It was natural to me. But I also worked within a family-owned business. So I knew what it was like to do payroll. I knew what it's like to take care of the banking, to pay the bills, all those things. So those were not a waste at all until I got to my calling. You need to understand that. So if you're in something right now and you're having a season of discontent, ask God what it is He wants you to learn in this task that He has given you. You may just need to be a light within that dark place right now. I don't know. But ask God what the task is. And when you have learned the task, then He can prepare you for the next one. And don't always think that because you're in a messed up time and everyone's disgruntled and everything's going on and everything's falling apart, that's not also a part of God's design. Because I know that in our case, we would not have shifted into counseling if we had not hit some rough patches where we were. And so those things actually helped us to make some decisions as to what we would need to do. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about this dream. I just gave you that as a thing. So I want you to think about this, and I'm going to show you in the dream how it also relates to my calling, and how it also, the dream, ties back to God and what is truth. Okay? So one thing, if you have a dream that is something that God wants to say to you, He wants to teach you, you generally will always wake up with the interpretation of the dream. In my case, there has been an excitement that I have to write it down. I have to tell about it. Sometimes I'll go on and just talk about it, but today I decided to do something different. I wanted to be invited. So I asked several of you if you wanted to hear the dream and you wanted to learn something. So several of you did. So this is for you. And I'm just posting this in that feed. So anyway, so I had this dream last night, and I have the utmost respect for policemen and military women and men. I'm always saying thank you for your service. All my military people out there and all my police friends out there, we love you. And I don't want to be in your path. I want to pray for you, but I do not want you to have to do anything to me because I'm breaking the law. So I want to be a law-abiding citizen. So I love policemen. I think they're wonderful. They were two just outside of our neighborhood a while ago. I think they were chasing someone on foot. I don't know. But I'm grateful that they're there. I'm grateful that they're doing their job. So I have great respect. So it wasn't foreign to me that in my dream, I was dreaming that I was trying to be a police cadet. And I was young, and we had gone all the way up. I'd passed all these things, and I'm 59. That's not going to happen. I know that, but this was what the dream was. So I was going for the police cadet, and we had gotten all the way to the end where we were about to have the ceremony, and the generals and everyone was there, and all the people, and everything was wrong with my uniform. My uniform was like when David tried to put on the armor, and it was too big for him and he couldn't fight. This uniform, I was young, and this uniform just swallowed me up, and I looked absolutely ridiculous. But in the dream, I wanted this so bad that I was like, I have to get this. I have to do this. I think somebody was encouraging me to do it, and so I was going along with it. I wanted to please them. I wanted to make them proud of me, that kind of thing. And so I'm there. I feel like an absolute idiot, but at the same time, I'm proud. I'm proud because I am getting to stand in this spot. And then, so some of the sweet ladies at church, I love my sweet grandmas. They came up and they knew the generals, and they brought them over and they said, look, now she's our friend and you have made her look absolutely ridiculous. You need to get her a new uniform. You can't let her go up there on that stage like that. And they were watching out for me. And that to me just blessed my heart. That was just a little side note, a little wink from God, because you know who your grandmas are. And I have a lot of grandmas in the church that love me, and I love them. And I could see them doing that. I've had them over the times I pastor. They'd say, look, I don't really like your hair black. I like your hair blonde. And so I would listen to them and that kind of thing. Some people would disagree. It doesn't matter because they're my grandmas. They love me. But they were trying to get them to see that this suit did not fit me. It did not fit me. So we get right to the end where they're about to do the pledge, and I get a call to come into a side office. Well, I'm torn. They're about to do the pledge. I'm about to be accepted. I look like a fool, but they have made a few adjustments and it was looking a little bit better. But here's somebody calling me in this office, and I'm saying, I can't come. I have to do this. I need this. But something kept pulling me into the office. It was one of those grandmas. And I went into that office, and in that office sat a family, and everything that was wrong with them was on their skin. Every brokenness, every ugly, every cancer was on their skin. There was a mother, a grandmother, and a grandfather. And they were in this office. It was just a bare office. And they had two little children, two little sweet children, and their skin was perfect. And they began to tell me, I'm like, what am I doing here? Why did these people invite me into this room? So they began, I just sat down like I do as a counselor. It was natural and second nature for me to sit down and say, how can I help you? And I found out that the grandmother was dying of cancer, the mother was dying of cancer, and the grandfather didn't have long to live because of his age. And they were worried that their two children would grow up and become bitter and angry, and they would run into the law and get in trouble. And you see, this is where the things begin to connect. At first, in my dream, I'm thinking, I need to be at the top on the stage with the people that are actually leading everything on the front lines. And then I get pulled into a room, and there I am called to minister to people who are about to walk from this earth into heaven. And they're saying, would you please make sure that our children know they're loved and they are well adjusted to the trauma that's coming their way, so that they never have to deal with the police out there. If you understand that, that is huge. Because what it is about my calling is, when I have a family come in, I am helping them so that they don't have to get involved with the law and the court system. I am doing what I am called to do, and in there, my clothes fit like they're supposed to. I have a comfortable way of sitting with them and being with them, because they asked me several questions in the beginning, like they were interviewing me, and then the grandma just closed up the book and said, she's the one. She's the one. And I was like, what do you mean I'm the one? I'm supposed to be out there. And then after I got them dealt with, and I said, I'll be glad to help those children. I will. Let me go take care of this first. I walk out, and it's all over. Everything's gone. And the general is fuming mad at me. And I said, but somebody need me over here. And the thing I want you to understand about your calling is, your calling will be what fits you. I had someone tell me at a women's retreat, I love her to death. She's Tone. Hey, Tone, if you're watching. But she said, there is no one else suited for doing what you're doing with Beautifully Broken Counseling. It was made for you. God put it on you. It is yours. It fits you. We need to understand that if we're following God, He will rightly suit us. Just like David. David could not put on the armor of the king because he was not suited to be the king. It wasn't his time yet. He needed to be differently armed with just what God had put in his, with the 3 stones and the sling. That's what was in his hands to do. He wasn't trying to look out here for where do I belong and I want to be a big dog and all that. Everybody's got to learn that whatever you are doing in this moment, God has called you to do it if you are helping another person. So that's what your hands need to do. Don't overstress about it. It's not all about a career. It's how can I comfort another person on their way to heaven while I'm on my way to heaven, or grab some that are on their way to hell. That's what it's really about. So whatever you're doing today, if God tells you that your suit fits, then wear it proudly and realize that it is all intertwined with those at the top. You don't have to be at the top to be valuable. Whatever you're doing where you are, if you are in a school and you are cleaning up after little children, you are blessing those children. Pray over over those children. You are doing just as much good work as someone who is sitting in an office and counseling with them, or someone who is dealing with something at the court system. But what we want to do is we want to look and say, okay, God, where are you working? How can you use me? What gifts have you given me? What things have I learned along the way? What hard knocks have I learned along the way that are useful to me now and useful to you now? And you want to get out of this thing of, I've got to be here, I've got to do this. And as far as dreams, if your dreams do not point to the truth of Christ, all that symbolism in there was pointing to the truth that God has called me to be a counselor. That's exactly what that was doing. God has called me to sit with those that are hurting and minister to them. And that dream spoke volumes to me. And I will tell you as a little tidbit, this is about another dream. 2 years before I even knew I was pregnant, I was told I could not get pregnant. But 2 years before I even knew I was pregnant, I saw Hannah's face. I had a dream. I was introducing her to our foster son. I knew his age at the time. He was older. I knew her age in the dream. Based on that, I saw her. I saw what she looked like. She was about 2 or 3. And now that I mean, I even laughed. I laughed like Sarah when I told my friend, I said, well, I'm going to have to be pregnant by this time if that dream is going to come true. I wasn't even think it was going to come true. Yeah, it was ludicrous to me. But there was something that God was telling me to get ready for, and I didn't know to pay attention. And 2 years later, here I have this miracle baby girl, and she, at that age, she looked like the dream. I still remember the dream. So if you have dreams, don't go on the internet and ask them what it means, okay? God will give you the interpretation of the dream, and your dream should be something pertinent to you or someone you love. I know there are people out there that are giving a lot of prophetic dreams about the world. I don't know about all those, okay? In the Bible, if you were a prophet and you had one mistake, you were stoned. So I don't want to go there. But I do know that if you have a dream and you wake up and it tells you to sin, that was not a dream from God. Okay? But if you have a dream that makes you praise God for what's going on in your life, or makes you pray more fervently, or makes you seek God's heart more, then that is a dream from the Lord. Hold on to it. Dream more if you want to. Ask God to give you more dreams, but don't get caught up in all these prophetic dreams right now, because everybody, I know that some of you actually probably said, I want to know about dreams because of the dreams you're seeing on the internet. I'm going to tell you, leave it in God's hands. They don't know. If you look at every one of them and go back a year and watch, you will see. So be very careful with those dreams right now. They are not glorifying God. They are bringing fear. We don't want fear, and God is not the author of confusion. So I love y'all, and thank you for inviting me to tell you this story. I feel honored that you would ask and that you would even care. And if you have any questions, just DM me. I'll answer the questions. But basically, stay close to God, get His word in your heart, and when you have a dream, you're going to know what His word says. All right, talk to you later. Love y'all. Bye. Thank you for inviting me. Bye.